Hey friend, happy Wednesday. It's so good to see you. I cannot believe that today is December 18th. I don't know if you, like me, kind of look at your calendar every day and go, what? how, how on earth did we get to this point? Because I feel like mentally I'm still somewhere back in September. So, holy moly, we have made it to December 18th and we have done that together. And I am just so thankful that we have such a brilliant, smart, wonderful community that joins us here each and every Wednesday. Britta, it's so good to see you. Rich, Jeff, all the greats are here today. If you are new, this is your first time here, come on in. The water is fine. We are a friendly bunch here. Make sure to drop in the chat where you're coming in from, maybe what's in your cup. I got some tea with me today coming in from Austin, Texas, but we would love to get to know you a little bit more. If you are listening on your favorite podcast network while you walk the dog or fold the laundry or do the dishes, we're here for you too. If you hear me asking questions, if you hear other people in the chat asking questions, we know that your hands are busy or you are in the middle of something. So you can just silently answer that question in your mind as if you were going to answer it with all of us in real time. So feel free to just kind of mentally check in with yourself as we go through this. And as we close out 2024, which I know is just totally mind-boggling. It's mind-boggling whether you are ready for the end of the year or maybe not ready for the end of the year. No matter what, I feel like you are just probably like me going, holy moly, how do I gear up for 2025? What does that look like? What are some things that I should be thinking about or taking action on? And that is what our session is going to dive into today, all about how to kind of close out 2024 and gear up for 2025. But you might think to yourself, I am going to come here and listen to a lot of the tips and tricks that work for Kim. And that would be true. That would be accurate. However, I know for a fact that David and Rhonda and Jim and Natasha and Shelby and Janelle also have tips and tricks and tactics that work for them. So not only do I want you to listen to me, I definitely want you to take into account the tips and tricks and tactics that are being shared in the chat, because boy, oh boy, that is always packed with a ton of goodness. And again, if you are listening on your favorite podcast network, not to worry, I will tell you what's going on in the chat so that you know all the goodness that is happening and you don't have to have FOMO like you missed out. So without further ado, as Janelle is saying, holy moly, where did 2024 go? I don't know. Maybe Cheyenne can lasso us in from Dallas, Texas, and let us know where at the end of the year went, because I sure as heck do not know. But let us continue to dive into all things 2025 and how we can prepare. So if you know me, you know I am a sucker for really good organization. I love it. I love starting with a clean, crisp agenda, and that is what I've done here. So first thing on the agenda is to meet each other. Hi, we've done that. I'm Kim. It's good to see you. And secondly, we're going to go into the main difference between a goal and a resolution, because that is one of my biggest sort of pet peeves around this time. Is people are always asking you at a holiday party or just as we kind of get to the end of the year, like, oh, what's your New Year's resolution? What's your New Year's resolution? And I don't really like that word. It sort of gives me the ick, but we will go into that because maybe it doesn't give you the ick. We're going to talk about kind of some how-tos when it comes to those goals, those resolutions, some must-dos, and obviously my favorite things to avoid that will just be a pit for you, a sand trap that you don't want to get stuck into. And as always, questions. If you are new here, hopefully we have made it seem like we are a very friendly bunch. So if you have questions throughout this, feel free to drop it in the chat. Don't feel like you have to wait till the end. This is an ongoing conversation with you and me. And so just like you would if we were sitting at a coffee shop, interrupt, ask a question, ask a follow-up. That is what we are doing here. So without further ado, let's kick off. And just to kind of table set everybody, I would like to know if you yourself set goals or resolutions. I say goals or resolutions because if you're like me and one of the words gives you an ick, maybe you want to use something else, or maybe you use a whole nother word altogether. And if so, if you don't use goals or you don't use resolutions, I personally would like to know what word you're using, because that might be helpful for me in the future. But just to kick us off, I'd love to know, answer in the chat, do you set goals or resolutions? It could be you do this at the end of the year, and which means you'd be doing this in the next like 2-ish weeks. Or maybe you say to yourself, I'm going to enjoy the holiday. I'm not really going to worry about it. I'll think about this in January. And then come January, I will sort of address this and set some goals or resolutions up for myself once the holidays are over, once the chaos is over, once I'm done with the madness. So, I love this one from Britta. I don't necessarily use the word goal or resolution. I use the word intention. Such a good one. I absolutely love that. Or Rhonda saying, yep, definitely. I do set work goals and personal resolutions. So I'm glad you brought that up, Rhonda, kind of the difference between personal versus work, because we're definitely going to get into that. And you can have different things in different areas of your life, or setting up things in different areas of your life and maybe not so much in another one. I adore this one from Jim as well. I have not set resolutions for the past few years. I use John Gordon's 1-word challenge. This year, the word I've been using is commit. Woo! So I love this. So whether you call them goals, whether you call them resolutions, whether you call them intentions, whether you don't call them anything at all, and you just pick one word, you don't even have to worry about a sentence. You just pick one word. These are all really rich, interesting ways to think about 2025 and really what you want to accomplish and what you want to get out of the year. I think it's important for us to really level set the difference between what a resolution is versus what a goal is. So just to kind of, again, deep dive into this a little bit more, a resolution is a firm decision to do or to not do something. So it's kind of like black or white. It's a yes or a no. So an example of a resolution might be, again, black or white, yes or no. It's either you are taking something away or you're adding something to your life. There's kind of no in between. That is literally the definition of the word. So if you are giving up something, if you have a resolution that you are giving up, that could be to give up smoking. That could be to give up drinking. That could be to give up sugar. That could be to give up sleeping in. I don't know what it is for you, but an example of a resolution from that standpoint is to take something away. If you have a resolution and it is to add something to your life, something like that could be, I'm going to work out 3 days a week, or I am going to make sure to hug my kids every day before they leave for school. Or it could be, I'm going to call one person a week and give my gratitude and thanks to them. Whatever it is, it means that you're looking at your sort of regular to-do list as it stands now, and you are adding something to it. Now, again, people have loves and hates when it comes to resolutions. I myself, not a huge fan of these. I'm not a huge fan because to me, it seems very absolute. It's like yes or no. And then because it's so absolute, essentially if you are doing it or not, which to me, I'll again just speak for myself. What ends up happening to me is if I set a goal, let's say to work out with heavy weights 2 days a week, And I get into January and life gets a little crazy and it's my mom's birthday and, I got to get caught up. And I don't necessarily do it after 2 or 3 weeks of not hitting my goal, which in that case is very black and white because it's very like, did you do the 2 workouts or did you not? I tend to feel very defeatist and I tend to want to give up and kind of throw the baby out with the bathwater and say, well, I'm just going to kind of abandon this altogether. So that is just my personality type. Other people's personality types might be like, yes, I need this because I either did it or I didn't do it. And in which case, yes, resolutions are going to be absolutely your thing. I really enjoy, more so than resolutions, I really enjoy goals, because goals to me, the definition of goal, so if you go into the Webster dictionary and look up the word goal, that is the object of a person's ambition or effort. So it's an aim or a desired result. So again, it's not so black and white as either you did it or you didn't. It's more of we're putting all of our energy and we're putting all of our ambition and all of our effort and all of our, intentions to get to this desired result. So again, an example of a good goal could be, okay, in 2025, I want to be able to do 10 complete push-ups, or I want to get a promotion, or I want to make new friends. And again, just speaking for me, I like this better because that just means that every week I'm putting time, attention, energy, or focus towards these things. I think this allows a little bit more of real life to kick in. So for example, if we use the goal of 10 push-ups, again, going back to that example from January, let's say there is a week or two where, birthday parties or work or holiday, I maybe only can put a little bit I only got one workout in to get me towards the goal of 10 push-ups versus another week where I got 3 workouts in to get me to those 10 push-ups. It means that you can have room for those little goals, but you don't have to be exact. I personally like that. I like feeling that as long as I'm making an effort or as long as I am getting towards those goals, then it's a good week. I don't have to feel like I gave up or didn't hit my resolution. I'm still making progress towards my goals. Wow, you get a gold star for dealing with your friend Kim, who is hacking up a lung. Thankfully, not in your face. Thankfully, you're on the other side of the screen, safe from my hacking. But you're there in patience, which I appreciate. So the first step, as you've heard me say, when I say me, the first step is figuring out which one works for you. Are you a goal person? Are you a resolution person? Like I said, there's no right or wrong answer. It's what works best for you. I have some friends who are very, very, very much resolution focused. Like they need black or white, kind of strong arm. I'm doing it. Yes, no, I completed the task or I didn't. I have friends that are more like me, that are more like, some weeks are going to be good. Some weeks are going to be bad. As long as I'm putting energy towards it, then we're going to count that as a win. So whether you're more of a resolution person, whether you're more of a goal person, no right or wrong answer. As Rhonda said, you just don't want to beat yourself up. So whichever one feels like it resonates more for you is going to be the way you want to go. Or like Shelby said, maybe it's a mix. Maybe some things are more absolute that you want to set for yourself. Maybe some things are, that energy levels are going to differ throughout the weeks, throughout the months, throughout the quarters, and you want something that has a little more flexibility. So again, figure out which one works best for you. The next thing you want to do is you want to set up a way to hold yourself accountable. So if you are a resolution person, then the best way you want to set up, again, because a resolution is either you're doing it or you're not. You're either adding something or you're taking something away. An app that I still use, it's on my phone, I use it every day, is Streaks. So similar to anybody who has an Apple Watch or any of these Apple products, where you set up these little tasks for yourself, whether it's 10,000 steps or whether it is getting up once every hour or whatever it is, and your Apple Watch or some app that you have on your phone tracks that. It is a similar thing, but you set what those streaks are. So for me, I have like, did I practice Spanish every day on Duolingo? Yes or no? So you kind of close the loop on those streaks. It's a free app, highly recommend it. If you want to know what it looks like in the App Store, the icon looks like this. It is orange with an S and a circle around it that is being completed. So Streaks app, highly recommend. Like I said, I track things in it like, did I drink, I think it's 32 ounces of water in one day? That's either I drank the water or I didn't. That is things like, did I practice Spanish today? Either I did or I didn't. Notice that I have it as, did I practice Spanish? Not how long I practiced it for. So again, going back to those slight nuances between resolutions and goals, for me, it was, you have to practice every day. Now, some days that's 15 minutes. Excuse me. Other days that's 5 minutes. So I don't beat myself up. It's whatever I have time for that day, 15 minutes, 5 minutes, etc. So as long as I'm doing it, that is my favorite app. If you have an app that you enjoy more, don't keep it to yourself. Share it in the chat. I'd love to know what you are using, but I really like the Streaks app. Next up, once you are setting that up for a resolution, now you can think about a goal. And remember, a goal is just something that we are putting our energy towards. We're setting our kind of ambitious focus on it and working hard each day to get ourselves there. So the goal setup is a little bit different. With a goal, you want to set what that goal is. You want to find a way to track that goal, see if you're making progress. And then you want to be able to tweak that process if it's not working. So everybody most likely has heard of the structure choice of the SMART goals, SMART. Each one of those SMART goals stands for something. But I have a slight remix that I do to these SMART goals that I use specifically for my goals. So I just kind of wanted to let you copy my homework on this. Take it if it feels good to you. If not, go back to the more traditional SMART goals. But this is how I set up my SMART goals. So the S in SMART, being specific, being really specific about what that goal is going to be. Next up is the M, measurable. How are we measuring that you are putting that energy, putting that effort in the right direction to get to that specific goal? The A in SMART is for attainable. Super, super important, especially as we get into 2025 and new goals, because some people like to make these crazy, really, really, really ambitious goals, which we love that. But sometimes you have to think, if you all of a sudden have a goal to climb Machu Picchu, but you currently aren't hitting even 5,000 steps a day, you are really setting a goal that, not saying it's not attainable, but it is pretty lofty. So really kind of judging how attainable is the goal that you are setting. Next up, the R in SMART is relevant. So how is that goal relevant to you from your personal life, you from a work standpoint, you interpersonally with other people that you relate to? How is that relevant to your everyday life? And the T in SMART is time-based. So how are we looking at this from a time-based standpoint? I work well with examples. So again, that is the kind of more traditional SMART goals. This is more of like my remix that I have found works better for me when it comes to goals. So specific is still there, measurable is still there. Instead of attainable, I have accountable, because I am a firm believer that if I start at less than 5,000 steps, there is a chance that I can get to Machu Picchu in that next year if I am being held accountable to the measurable ways that I am going to improve throughout the year. Next up, I changed the R to realistic. So similar to that attainable, but how realistic is it? Not only in terms of the goal, but how realistic is it in the season that I'm in? So I had a friend a couple of weeks ago and we were talking, and she was saying how, in this kind of season of life, she's really looking at helping her parents move some older relatives into a home, and looking at that process and really helping them evaluate where some care facilities that these older members of her family might have a place. And so she has been, instead of having 2 or 3 free hours a week, those 2 or 3 hours have been spent really helping her family members look at some of these senior care communities. So when she was listing all of these really great, amazing, goals to me for 2025, I said to her, I was like, oh, is that realistic given the season that you're in? So again, that's what I mean when I say realistic. Like, how realistic is it that you have the time and effort? Not that you're not capable of doing it, because my friend is beyond capable of hitting it, but just because she had these other obligations that she was helping with, I was like, let's look at how realistic that actually is right now. And then last but not least, the T, I have these as timed check-ins. So going back to staying accountable in a timed fashion. And are you really hitting your goals? So let's dig into these a little bit more, because I think for me, I really work better with examples. So if you are like me and you are a visual learner, or you work better when you're kind of seeing something laid out in front of you, I wanted to break it down for you. So let's break each one of these down. Let's look at specific first. So specific is going to be important because, again, we really want to put as much detail as possible into these. So for example, it's not just I want to complete push-ups. It's I want to complete 10 full push-ups, or I want more responsibility at work specifically, or I want to make more money at work. Don't get stuck on the hows for this step. I think that kind of trips up a lot of people of like, well, how would I even do 10 push-ups? Don't worry about the hows when you are making this list. Just try to get as specific as possible when you are thinking about your goals. Like if that's numbers in terms of 10 full push-ups, or if that's categories, whatever that is, make sure that you are kind of digging in as much as possible to those specifics. Don't worry about it. Just again, the numbers, the adjectives, as specific as humanly possible. The next thing you want to think about is measurable. So again, going back to that specific mind frame, when we're thinking about something that's measurable, we're thinking about, is there a way that we can tell if we have accomplished it or not? So again, 10 full push-ups, we know that that's pretty measurable, because if you're only hitting 8, it means that you didn't hit 10. It means that you didn't get there. So that means, keep trying. We're not quite there yet. If it is more responsibility at work, you know very well if you are getting more responsibility at work, because that means you have more on your to-do list from an everyday standpoint. Same thing with more money. If more money is hitting your bank account or not. So again, kind of very black and white, either you're doing it or you're not. And so you can very easily answer the question, have I reached this milestone? That is sort of the litmus test. If you have made a measurable goal, if you've hit it or not. So again, as specific as humanly possible. Next up, accountable. So if we are accountable, that means we have picked another human that is going to help us keep us going towards these goals. So again, I want to complete 10 push-ups. I have in my mind told Laura or talked to Laura at the gym that Laura is going to hold me accountable to this goal. Or Abby, my coworker, is going to hold me accountable to my work goal. Or Jeff, who's here with us today from Coffee with Kim, he's going to hold me accountable to, am I making more money? So again, don't worry about the how at this point. You can kind of think about it, but don't feel like, oh, well, I haven't talked to Jeff yet. And if I haven't talked to Jeff, don't kind of talk yourself out of things. Just jot it down. Just, if you're thinking about who could hold you accountable to 10 full push-ups, I'll use this because I think it's a beautiful example. I have a friend, Nick Gray, and he talks about this publicly, but he set a push-up goal for himself. I think it was like push-ups, sit-ups, and maybe it was pull-ups. And he got an accountability group together. It was about, I want to say 7 or 8 people, all different ages, all around the world. They started a WhatsApp group, and all anybody did at the end of every day, once they had done the push-ups, the sit-ups, and the pull-ups, is they just put the word done. D-O-N-E, that was it. Or they put a check mark. So there wasn't some big explanation of today I went to the gym at 10 a.m. No, just the word done. And they could send it anytime they wanted. So some people were sending it early. Some people were sending it late. Some people were traveling. So it was coming in a different time zone or whatever. But if you saw somebody on the WhatsApp list and 2 or 3 days went by and you didn't see the word done, the other people in the group would reach out to that person and say, what's up? What's going on? You haven't written done. So I love that example because it really did show it doesn't have to be a huge time suck. Writing the word done or putting a thumbs up emoji does not take that much time. And you don't have the excuse of it's not somebody I live with or it's not somebody in my hometown. They did this over WhatsApp. People lived in different states, different time zones. And the third thing I really love about this is everybody in the group knew what to expect from others. So very quick, again, like Shelby is saying, peer pressure, sometimes a good thing. Really sitting in and saying, how can these other people help me accomplish my goal in a fast, easy way? So again, is that calling? Is that texting? Is it emailing? Whatever that is. The next thing is, again, sinking into if something is realistic. So I always like to ask people, again, is this a BHAG or is this accessible? If you have not heard of the term BHAG, it stands for big, hairy, audacious goal. So again, if I currently am like mildly in shape and I set a goal of climbing Mount Everest, that's going to be a BHAG goal. That's going to be big, hairy, and audacious. Totally possible, but it's going to be big, hairy, and audacious. Whereas maybe a more accessible goal will say, Kim, you're going to walk 10,000 steps every day. That's 3 miles around the neighborhood. Just walk around. A little more accessible. So really think about when you are kind of setting these up, how realistic is for you. And like I said before, how realistic is it for you in this season of life? So are you helping out older parents? Are you moving? Are you starting a new job? Are you having kids? Is your kid going through a difficult time? Are you going through a divorce? Are you getting married? There's all these things to take into account, like how realistic. There's seasons for you to say, big, hairy, audacious goal. I got you. I'm in the season for this. I have time. I have energy. I have attention. I'm ready to go. There's other seasons, like I told you about with the friend that I just had lunch with not too long ago, that like, man, I'm helping out my family in this really specific way. I don't know if this exact, 6-month period or 2-month period or year period is really my moment for a big, hairy, audacious goal. I always like to point that out because you kind of got to recognize that we're whole people. We're not just work people, or we're not just somebody's sister, wife, mother, cousin, whatever it is. We're a whole We're a whole enchilada. We got a lot going on. Last up is time based, those timed based check ins. I think this is really important. So, saying, I want to complete 10 full push ups by March 30th, or I want more responsibility at work and I want that to start hitting at the end of summer, or I want to make more money by June of 2025. And making sure that your accountability partner, whoever that is, whether that is somebody via text or somebody in your everyday life, that they know what those dates are. So once again, they're holding you accountable that if we know that you have to do 10 push-ups by the end of March, you better believe in January, February, March, we are going to be on you hardcore because you only have a 3-month period to hit that goal. So make sure that your accountability partner, whoever that is, knows that there is a time reference on your goals. Super, super duper important. Here are some must-dos as you are setting up these goals or as you are setting up these resolutions for yourself. Pick a day to do all of this. Maybe that day is today. Maybe you're like, hey, Wednesday, December 18th, I have 2 hours this afternoon. I'm going to do it. If you're like me, Wednesdays are crazy for you. It's the middle of the week, got a lot flying around, probably not the best. For me, that looks like Friday afternoons. Things are starting to slow down a little bit. I always set aside time for projects like this on Friday afternoons. So pick a day, whatever that is, to set this up for yourself. Once you do that, so you say, okay, Friday, 2 hours, I'm going to dig into this, my SMART goals. Okay, I'm setting things up, whether it's my push-ups or make more money or whatever it is that my goals are or my resolutions are. Then I want you to set those check-in dates in your calendar. So I'm going to do the push-ups by the end of March, or I'm going to ask my boss for a raise by the end of April, or again, whatever it is, set those times up in your calendar and actually take the time during that period, in my case, Friday afternoon, to set them up on your calendar. So don't just kind of say, oh yeah, I'll remember that in 2 months. You won't. Life will get busy. You will forget. So set the time up when you're done with those goals in your own calendar. And next, write that email or write that text message or write that LinkedIn request or whatever it is to that accountability partner with all the relevant info of, hey, Britta, I want you to help me be accountable. I want to do 10 push-ups by the end of March. And it's a really big goal of mine. And if you could help me kind of stay accountable to that by checking with me weekly, or maybe we start a WhatsApp group where we put done in the example that I gave for my friend Nick, whatever it is, set that up with whoever that is so that they know that they can help you. And then last but not least, display this. So put this actually physically somewhere that you can see it. I'm not going to take the camera, but I will just tell you that because I'm looking at it right now. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I have 9 Post-it notes that are posted kind of around my computer or next to my computer. And they could be goals, they could be reminders, or could be things that I want to, stay top of mind. Some people put that in their bathroom, right there when they're brushing their teeth. Display that somewhere. I don't care if it's in your kitchen. I don't care if it's on your computer. I don't care if it's in your bathroom. Maybe it's on your Kindle. If you're reading your Kindle every night before bed, I don't know where it is. I don't know where you look every day, but display that somewhere where you are looking at it over and over again. There's tons of science to back up the fact that when we continue to look at our goals over and over and over, that sort of subliminal messaging sinks in even more each and every time we read that. So display that, get us some Post-its, go crazy around your house or around your office, displaying those goals wherever you can. Super important. It also really helps when we talk about things to avoid, because there's always slip-ups that happen in this process. And I don't want people to encounter them and just kind of give up, because that's never somewhere that we want to be. So first and foremost, any sort of negative self-talk that has got to go, that catches people all the time. Oh, I'm never one to be able to do push-ups. Push-ups are my hardest thing. My arms are so weak. Again, that sort of negative self-talk. I know it's hard. I know we all have that chatter in the back of our minds, but as much as you can, recognize when it's happening and try to shove it out the door. A good rule of thumb that I use on myself is I always ask, Kim, would you say this to another person? And 9 times out of 10, I wouldn't, because it is rude. I would not say to Gil or to Shelby or to anyone, oh, Shelby, you are not a push-up person. That's rude. And I wouldn't say that. So why am I saying that to myself? So a good sort of litmus test that you might want to steal is, would I say that to somebody else? And if I wouldn't, because it's rude or obnoxious, maybe I shouldn't be saying it to myself. Throwing that out there. Next up, I think this is another like total terrible killer when it comes to goals and resolutions, is not celebrating wins. So if, again, we're just continuing to use the 10 push-up examples, when you get from 6 push-ups to 10 or 6 push-ups to 7 push-ups, don't say to yourself, well, I'm only at 7 push-ups. I'm not at 10 push-ups. So, gosh, I still have such a long way to go. No, that night, I want you to, I don't know, eat your favorite food, take yourself out for ice cream, draw that bubble bath, buy that book you've been wanting to buy. Like, celebrate those small wins, even if it's a small way, because hey, you got from 6 push-ups to 7 and you're making your way to 10. So celebrate those small wins along the way. Don't just keep beating yourself up because you're not at the big overall goal. Another thing that I think is just, again, such a killer is not telling others about your goal. So again, using this 10 push-up example, I live with my husband. It is very important for me to tell him any goals or resolutions that I have, because then he can help me be accountable or just be considerate and ask about it. So when we're having dinner, he can say, hey, how's that going? Where are you at with your 10 push-ups? Did you make it to 5? Did you make it to 6? So the people in your life, for the most part, hopefully, care about you and want you to do well on average. And by the way, if you have people in your life that don't care about you or don't want you to do well, come over here on Wednesdays, because everybody here, I can assure you, does care about you and does want you to do well. And we would love to hear what your goals or resolutions are. So have people that can kind of ask, like, how's that going for you? What's new? Any ways that I can help? Friends, think this to yourself. This is such a good reminder. My husband tells me this all the time. What would you do if your friend came to you with the same request? Because oftentimes I overthink, like, oh gosh, well, I don't want to bother Jeff by asking him, or telling him that I'm doing these push-ups because, and my husband always says, stop. What would you do if Jeff came to you and said, hey, my goal is 10 push-ups. Can you help me by sending me a text once a week? Of course, you'd say to your friend, amazing. So happy to help. Oh my God, I'll totally send you a text once a week. I love this for you. I'm your biggest cheerleader. I'm one of your closest friends. Yes. So again, really kind of taking yourself out of it and saying, what would you do if somebody else asked you the same thing? Would probably be fine. And then it is imperative as much as possible to address the fact that not everybody is going to be rooting for you. In that, normally, when you are bettering yourself, when you are moving from the bronze to the silver and the silver to the gold, we would like to think that everybody around us is always trying to make themselves better. However, and people like this, and they're in your life for whatever reason. They're in your life because you're family and you can't get rid of them. They're in their life because you work with them and you can't get rid of them, but they're around you in some way. And for a fact, this is not the type of person that goes from bronze to silver to gold. They don't want to better themselves. They're not reading the books or waking up an hour early or joining accountability groups or joining ways to better themselves. You know that about them. And listen, everybody's on their own journey. That's for them. But you yourself are working every day to make yourself better. Try to hang out with those people less. I know it's hard. I know this is kind of a spicy one because people are like, well, I can't hang out with my mother less or my mother-in-law less or my sister less or whatever it is. But just, I'm not saying eliminate them altogether, but just kind of then be conscious of knowing, okay, if I tell my sister that my goal is 10 push-ups and she goes, ugh, like you could ever be someone that gets to 10 push-ups, that they're just a little negative on you. You just have to know, okay, I can't be with people like that bring me down once I have these goals or resolutions. Cause it's just sort of, I don't know, it's like somebody having a pin and just kind of popping it right in your bubble. It's just not somewhere you want to be. So what else should you avoid? We know to avoid all of those things, but what else should you avoid? I would love to know kind of what you think you should avoid. But again, one of the things that I just think absolutely that you should avoid as much as possible, my kind of number one is not being held accountable. I just think not telling people about your goals, it really slows down your entire process as much as possible. So for me, it is really as much as possible being accountable. And so I would like to offer to you that we have a lot of amazing people in this community. We come every single Wednesday at 1 p.m. Eastern. We meet. We are all the type of people that are constantly wanting to get bigger, get better, take ourselves from the bronze to the silver, to hopefully ultimately up to gold in whatever it is that we're doing. And that we would love to hold you accountable if there is something that you are wanting to stay accountable for. So as you think about it over these next couple of weeks, you can join us in January when we have our next session, or you can send a note to somebody that you see here each and every week and say, hey, Gail or Shelby or whoever it is, like, can you help keep me accountable to whatever it is that this goal is? I think that is just unbelievably important. There's just, in my eyes, nothing better. I am curious if you already have something in mind. Maybe something is percolating in the back of your brain when it comes to a goal or a resolution. If you do, I would love for you to put it in the chat so that we can all see what it is that your goal is or that your resolution is for 2025. Or I know Jim already shared his word for the year, which is commit, which is such a good one. But if you have anything that you already know what it is, or maybe just something that you are percolating on, I would love, love, love to know what that is. I will go first, or I will tell you one of the things that I'm percolating on, which is I really, really think that it is a doable, sort of attainable, measurable goal for me to hit 10,000 steps a day. I definitely hit 10,000 steps some days, but other days I don't. And I don't because, as you know, life gets in the way and things get busy and all that sort of stuff. But I really do think if I put my mind to it and maybe woke up a little earlier or maybe went to bed a little later or whatever it is, even if it is just walking up and down my block, taking calls during the day or whatever it is. So I'm not taking conference calls sitting at my desk, but I am taking conference calls up, walking around the neighborhood, that I really do think that I can get to that 10,000 steps a day if I just focus on it a little bit more. I love this goal from Rhonda, which is she specifies as a work goal, always important if we're going to say like, oh, this is a work goal versus a personal goal versus, in my case, a health goal, 10,000 steps a day. That has to do with my health and fitness and wellness levels. But Rhonda says I have a work goal, and that is to be better on follow-up. Oof, such a good one, especially when it comes to following up on emails or calls or things that you have going on. I feel like that is a great one. I also love this one from Shelby. I want to try eating vegan 1 day a week. I know this sounds silly, but it's just not a normal thing in our house, and I want to try it. I love this. And I feel like this is, again, something that touches on both personal, but also your fitness and your wellness. I feel like this is such a great one to try. And again, totally attainable, because you think to yourself, we're not saying 3 days a week, or we're not saying every single day, just 1 day a week. I think you could even set the bar even lower for that if you wanted to, and say, every Monday for lunch, or, whatever it is, if it's a busy season. So if it's not the whole day, maybe it's just, one meal a day or whatever it is. So these are such good ones. I feel like there's always going to be some great ones. Oh, Shelby has another work one, which is clean up my website. Whew. I hear ya. That's another one. Any sort of, I feel like, house cleaning or things that you're like, I really do have to get to that, but I got to make time for it. Absolutely. I love that Britta is going with kind of Jim's theory of a word or an intention, and that is to grow, which she can apply both in a work setting, so things like grow my business, or can apply it to personal life, growing in other ways that don't involve work. I love this idea. And again, I will say, if you can put this on a Post-it note, that the word grow, put the word grow on your bathroom mirror, put the word grow on your computer if you're using it every day, put the word grow on your Kindle if you're reading every night before bed, anything that you're kind of regularly looking at or experiencing, definitely put those words or intentions or goals up there so that you're looking at them every day. I think it's so helpful. I would love to stay in touch, or if one of your goals is to grow and learn, I would love for you to grow and learn with me. So you can go to linkedinlearning.com. You can search my name. I have a ton of really great courses that I've put up with the LinkedIn team. The most recent one is Supercharge Your LinkedIn Profile for Opportunities and Growth. So if you have any work goals in 2025, like get a new job, or make more money, or make more partnerships, or get more connections, and you want to kick that off on a good foot when it comes to your LinkedIn, I would love to help you with that. And I would love to help you optimize your profile so that all of those opportunities can come to you and make themselves easier to get into your life and to execute. So you can always go to superchargemylinkedin.com and get access to that course. Or again, you can just search the LinkedIn Learning Library. Sadly, I cannot control the LinkedIn algorithm, speaking of LinkedIn. So if you would like to make sure that you don't miss any more of these sessions or workshops or interviews or content, the only way that I know how you can access that content is to hit the follow button on LinkedIn, or to hit that little alarm bell right under my red coffee cup on the banner image of my profile, because that's all I got. Other than that, I know for a fact that when we end today, over the next 2 days, we are going to get messages in my inbox that says like, did you ever do that goal setting session? Did you ever do that year-end wrap up? And I'm going to say, yeah, did that. And you missed it. And here it was. And they're going to go, well, I didn't know. And I'm going to go, I know, but I can't help you. So that's it. That's the only way I know how. I wish there was more, but this is actually our very last coffee session for 2024. We will be back on Wednesday, January 8th in 2025. And we are going to be sitting down with one of my favorite humans, Maura, to talk about navigating perfectionism, because it is something that I really struggle with, and you also might struggle with it. But navigating that and figuring out, how do we get through this? How do we deal with this perfectionism? I think is just, it's going to be really helpful for all of us. So above and beyond, I absolutely think that you should join that session. You can always go to getcoffeewithkim.com, and we'll send out a little calendar reminder so that you can make sure to join and kind of sink in with us a little bit more in the new year. I personally would love that. So it has been so good to spend this time with you. Britta says, thank you and happy holidays. I appreciate you. I appreciate you, Britta. I appreciate you guys all being here and working so hard to make yourselves better, set those big goals, those big BHAG goals up for yourself. And again, if you're listening on your favorite podcast network, I appreciate you too. I know sometimes it's hard to get to these live sessions and it's hard to kind of get the goodness in real time. So if you're listening later, please know that we are thinking of you and so grateful for your time and your attention this holiday season. Whatever it is you celebrate, whatever it is you have going on, you love the holidays, you hate the holidays, you're staying home for the holidays, you're traveling for the holidays. You have to work over the holidays. You don't have to work over the holidays. You want to change your job going into the holidays. Whatever it is that you're facing, I am so proud of you. I care about you so much. This is truly the absolute best time of my week every single Wednesday. I adore being here. I adore learning from you. You make my life richer by being in it. And so I have endless gratitude for you and everything that we have built here and that we continue to build here. So I look forward to seeing you in 2025. Have a beautiful next 2 weeks, my friend, and stay safe, whatever it is that you do, and enjoy as much as you can because you deserve it. So I'll see you in a few weeks. Happy holidays.